Welcome back to Life's Chillent. My name is Avital, and this week's Parshat is Parshat Chayei Sarah, which actually opens with the death of Sarah and Abraham's process of trying to find her a place to be buried. So Abraham and Sarah had been traveling for a long time, gathering followers, doing sort of Jewish outreach, for lack of a better word, telling people about monotheism, about God, and so they were sort of always temporary dwellers in different places. And similarly, at this time, they were in the land of Canaan. Canaan is the land that was Canaan in the Bible, is actually now sort of modern-day Israel. And Abraham was dwelling there, but he didn't own any land. Again, he had been traveling. And so he goes about asking the people in the land of Canaan if he can purchase a plot of land where he will be able to bury his wife. So Abraham has this meeting with the people in the land of Canaan, and he says the piece of land he would really like is the cave of Machpelah. And the person who owned it was a man named Ephron. So what Abraham says, he says, "Let him grant me the cave of Machpelah, which is his, on the edge of his field. Let him grant it to me for its full price in your midst, as an estate for a burial site." So Abraham, right off the bat, he says he wants the cave of Machpelah. He wants it to be able to bury his wife, to be able to bury the dead of his people, and he wants to pay for it full price. He doesn't want any discounts, any special deals. He wants to pay for it. He wants to own this land. And Ephron, his response is, "No, my lord, heed me. I have given you the field. And as for the cave that is in it, I have given it to you. In view of the children of my people, I have given it to you." So Ephron responds by saying, No, I don't want you to buy it. I'm going to give it to you. It's a gift. Look, all of these people are here watching, my people. And in front of all of them, I'm going to be generous and give you this plot of land. But Abraham, it's important to Abraham that he owns it outright. And so what does he say? Abraham responded, "Rather, if you would only heed me, I give the price of the field. Accept it from me, that I may bury my dead there." So Abraham says, No, I'm going to pay for it. And so Ephron says, okay. And what price does Ephron set? 400 silver shekels. Now, it's hard to know what that currency is, how it compares to dollars, and what that currency was, especially in the time of the Bible. But sort of all of the commentators agree that that was an outrageously expensive price. That Ephron quoted 400 silver shekels was really a fortune. And Abraham, he didn't argue. Abraham bought it from him. And he went ahead and bought it in view of everyone. So in view of all of these people who were here, Abraham took out the money basically. He paid Ephron for the land, and now he owned it. And so what was important about this is there's no room for ambiguity. There's no room for future descendants to come back and say, wait a second, he didn't buy the land, it was given to him, it was a gift. And also, interestingly, the fact that he had to pay 400 silver shekels really makes it unforgettable. It was such a price that people were talking about it for a long time. And so that was kind of something good that came out of that expensive price, was that for generations to come, people were going to remember that this man named Abraham bought this cave of Machpelah for 400 silver shekels. Like, what a price. It was kind of like the scandal of the time. And so Abraham was very clear, again, in what he was going to use the cave for and in how much he paid for it, so that there's no room for misinterpretation or argument in the future. This land was Abraham's and will continue to be passed on to his descendants. We find a similar story a little bit later in the Parsha when it comes to the process of finding Isaac, who's Abraham's son, and finding him a wife. Abraham is well on in his years, and so he sends his trusty servant Eliezer on the sort of hunt to find Isaac a wife. He didn't want to take a wife from the nations that were living in the land where he was, in the land of Canaan. He wanted to find a wife who was sort of from a more righteous group of people. Specifically, it'd be great if he could find somebody from the family of Abraham. So Eliezer sets out on this journey, and he decides that he's going to sit by a well and perform the following test. So Eliezer prays to God, and he says to God that, how am I supposed to know who's the right wife for Isaac? maybe by this test that we can kind of agree on, me, Eliezer, and you, God, maybe if the right woman sort of passes this test, I'll know that she's the one for Isaac. So he says, what's the test? Eliezer says, let it be that the maiden to whom I shall say, please tip over your jug so that I may drink, and who replies, drink, and I will even water your camels, her you will have designated for Isaac. So what's the test? That he's going to be by this well, Eliezer, and when the women come to gather water, and he asks, can I have a drink? Whoever says, of course, you can have water, and even your camels, I'm even going to bring water for your camels, that's going to be the one who went the little bit of an extra mile. She's going to be the one who merits to marry Isaac, who passes the test, who you intended for him. And before he's even finished having that conversation with God, Rebecca appears. Now, Rebecca comes with this jug on her shoulder to the spring, and he asks Rebecca, can I please have water? And Rebecca says, of course, I'll give you water, and I'll even give water for your camels. And so she passes the test. Rebecca is meant to be the one. And so right away, Eliezer provides her with gold jewelry, which is kind of a sign of of his intentions already. He's giving her this gift that's worth much more than the water that she had provided him with. Eliezer then asks Rebecca, do you have a family that I can lodge with, that I can stay with? And she tells him, of course, and we even have feed for your camels, and there's room, and you can bathe your feet, and all of these things. And so they go to the family of Rebecca. And Rebecca's brother is named Laban, and he's kind of the head of the household. And Laban tells Eliezer that he will provide him with, food for him, for his camels, and for all the other men that came with Eliezer on this journey, for the other sort of servants. So you can imagine at this point, Eliezer's had this journey. He's been sitting out, presumably in the hot sun. He was thirsty. He got water. And you would think that at this point he's hungry and ready for this meal that Laban just promised that he was going to prepare for him. But Eliezer says, this is the quote, I will not eat until I have spoken my piece. So again, Eliezer's probably tired and hungry, but he's not going to eat until he has spoken the reason why he's there, what his intentions are. So then he tells Laban about how Abraham sent him to find a wife for his son Isaac, and how that Abraham and Sarah are righteous people, and they've amassed wealth, and that they have followers, and that then he tells Laban about this sort of test that he had come up with God of how to know who's the right woman is the one who's going to bring water not just for him, but for his camels as well, and how Rebecca came in before he was even done telling this plan to God. She had passed the test. She had offered to provide water for his camels. And so then Eliezer says, if you intend to do kindness and truth with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me. So Eliezer has now said what his intentions are. He wants Rebecca to be a wife for Isaac, and for all of these reasons, and this is the type of household she's going to go into. He's been very clear. And now he wants to know from Laban, what are your intentions? Is it agreeable? Are you going to do this deal with me or not? And I think it's really beautiful because, well, first, Laban does agree. Laban says, yes, she can go with you. And we know, as many of us know, Rebecca does go on to be one of our matriarchs, to be the wife of Isaac, and they have children together and grandchildren and, all of these descendants. But it's so beautiful because what we see between the story of Abraham buying this plot for his wife and in the story of Eliezer trying to find a wife for Isaac is the power and importance of clarity, and of stating your intentions right out of the bat, of not beating around the bush. I know that's difficult. I, for one, I don't like confrontation. I don't like rocking the boat. I like just to be very agreeable, and I'm kind of shy. In my own business, it took a really long time for me to be comfortable talking about money and what I charge for my services because I didn't want to really have to tell people, and I was kind of we can talk about it later, and I was afraid it was going to be too much. But it's so important to be clear and upfront about those things. It's so important that everybody should be on the same page so that there's no room for misunderstandings and there's no room for that possibility of embarrassment later or misintentions or, people not understanding. We can really see from Abraham and from Eliezer the importance of being clear with our intentions, with other people, and we should hope that they will just provide us with the same clarity back. So I hope we can all take away from this Parsha the importance of trying to be more clear about our intentions, and I wish you all a wonderful week and a Shabbat Shalom.